IPMNation.com.
All natural being. Warning, all natural being with Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brawdy.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're listening to All Natural Being. Welcome. I'm Brian, here with you 5 days a week, or whenever you like, really. If you think of iTunes, if you think of the podcast library, the replays. We do this live Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern. We also have the live replay, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, as well as 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And we did a little survey last week, threw it out, because we had done the live show, and then kind of decided that maybe it's best to keep it live in the mornings, but from time to time, we'll do like a bonus. We'll sneak in a live show in the evenings, which I kind of dig, to be honest with you. I like the morning shows. It's cool. I get up every morning. These things are baked fresh, written every day. So I want to thank all kinds of friends that send me suggestions. Tammy, Jason, Doug, Oliver, Patricia, Danielle this morning. All kinds of people that know what time I'm going to be up. And they send me either texts at 331-684-7685. 331-684-SOUL. They hit me up on Facebook. What is it? Facebook.com/ or dot. Is that how it works? Facebook.com/ Brian Brawdy Official, I think is how you get there. Or on Twitter at Brian Brawdy. So they know I'm up, I'm busy, I'm working on it, and they give me all kinds of cool ideas. They send me some questions, some things to think about. Maybe they'll post some things over on my page so that I can look at those and kind of get my head in the right frame of mind, if you will. So, again, thank you so much for tuning in to the number one show here on IPMNation.com. It's number one because it is a show about you, right? Sure not number one because of my stunning radio talent. Still trying to figure all this stuff out. But number one, I think, all this time, going on 3 months now, number one because it's a show about you. The real you, the true you, not the fearful you, but the real you. Which made me think yesterday as I was writing the anaerobic aphorism. You know, when we hear about a lot, but people say, oh, it's just so overwhelming, or I just had a brutal day, or, you know what the words are. You know how to fill it in when you just go, oh, man, that was a tough one. So the anaerobic aphorism, kind of the focus of what we're going to discuss throughout the 4 segments on the show this morning. Anaerobic aphorism. Overwhelmed? Stop undervaluing who you ultimately are. We know at our core, we know, as Rumi, the poet Rumi might call it, at the root of your soul, it's impossible for us to be overwhelmed. The ego can be overwhelmed. Oh, I got to tell you this. I happened yesterday afternoon to be near a television. In any event, I happened to be near a television, and there was a particular news show. I don't know how it ended up on that channel, but it was a particular news show, a station I'm on quite often. There's a think tank that gets together every afternoon. I don't want to throw under the bus. That's not what this is about, but there's a think tank that gets together, a group of people, and they discuss thoughts of the day and all these other things. And then there are just a couple of them on the show that are so easily offended, so easily just, it seems almost injured by the other people in the panel, on the forum. There are other co-hosts, if you will, and they're so snotty and so dismissive, and they're on camera rolling their eyes and right? Like someone else's opinion. The reason I bring that up is it's only our egos that are offended. You find yourself listening to the words of someone else and you have to roll your eyes, you need some help. It's your ego. It's not the real you. It's not the true you. It's the watered-down version of you. It's a charade that the ego likes to keep. Right? Because if it keeps you in check. And then I thought, look at any of these, news format programs. I think I called the one the Spew. Whatever these talk shows are. And it must be reflective of how we are as a people, right? Because news organizations wouldn't continue to put things on if it weren't drawing listeners in. So it must be a part of who we are, where no one wants to discuss anymore. Everyone just wants to go, straight to the brawl. There's no respect for the opinion of other people's on these shows. This one woman just sitting there, rolling her eyes, making fun. She's an attorney. Because she's an attorney, everyone's supposed to bow down right away to what she says. I mean, you want to really view what an unchecked ego looks like. Tune into one of these talk shows. Not talk show, whatever these news shows. I only bring it up because if you can be offended, if you move instantly to be dismissive of another person's opinion, if you can roll your eyes, if you can huff, if you can flip your hair. I'd love to be able to flip my hair. I don't have any left to flip, but if you can flip your hair, then it's a pretty good idea you're letting the ego call your shots and not the real you. And that's why it's so easy to get overwhelmed by the opinion of another person. The ego, absolutely. Layup to overwhelm an ego. Absolutely easy to overwhelm somebody's false sense of self when we undervalue who we ultimately are and we put that facade, that scaffolding out for the world to see. That's easy to offend. That's easy to get all worked up. But not the real you. Not the true you. And that's why we talk all the time about Ego Shield. Yeah, watch one of these No, don't watch one of these TV shows. It's not worth your time. What I'm simply suggesting is that when we work on our own Ego Shield, when someone says something that tweaks our ego, we get a little bit of room. We got a buffer. We got a moat. Takes a little bit of time for that to get through to us. Now, it's a little bit of work, to be honest, because in that moment, stimuli comes in, heads straight to the amygdala, the base of our brains, and then we're in to fight or flight or freeze. But when we work to build that ego shield, to build that little bit of cognitive buffer, of a little bit of a temporal terrain, so that we can take a deep breath, exhale, scan the horizon, check our six, whatever you want to call it, and then think, and then talk, and then take action. And we know we're the ones driving the bus. We don't have to huff, roll our eyes. I also, before we get into the 4 segments this morning, from time to time, I'll have the mic open before the show starts or even sometimes after the show is over. So I get a lot of cool emails from folks going, I really dig, kind of wondering what you're thinking about right before the announcer comes on or what you're doing afterwards. So from time to time, we sprinkle some of those in. And the other day in leaving, I said something, just a line that I've always kind of believed, and I got some comments on it. People go, what did you mean by that? And the line that I used in closing out the show was the tightrope is always better than the noose. The tightrope is always better than the noose. And then this morning, because we're going to talk about synchronicity here in a little bit, this morning my friend Patricia on Facebook puts up like a picture quote. It says, fear does not prevent death, it prevents life. So the tightrope, working the edge, taking whatever the labyrinth throws at the moment. Yeah, you got to be awake. From time to time, it's a little stressful, a little agitating, but that's what it's like living on the cutting edge. That's so much better than the noose. That's so much better than deciding to tap out as opposed to jump in. So that's what I mean by it when I say the tightrope is always better than the noose. All right, in this morning's show, this evening show, this afternoon show, whenever you're listening, segment 1, I'm calling it, You Are in Charge of What You Think. I like the poet Walt Whitman's, the perfect uncontamination. What is the perfect uncontamination? We're going to get to that in the first segment here in just a bit. Segment number 2, I kind of tipped my hand a few seconds ago. It's synchronicity. And I've been focused on synchronicity for quite some time, as you can imagine, with the concept of fingerprints of providence, those things that happen in the moment, those chance occurrences, those synchronicities, to coin Carl Jung. So I figured, just out of respect for him, it was his term, I would go ahead and throw in his definition of it, where he says that synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have the eyes to see. I thought, wow, we'll tie in the perfect uncontamination of Walt Whitman and the synchronicity of Carl Jung, and we'll do that in the first 2 segments. All right, segment 3, I guess I'm just like in a poet mood today, but Emily Dickinson's The Finite Infinity is what she called it, the finite infinity, and how I believe, as you know, that you are a satellite office, an affiliate of the divine, however you choose to decode and define it. And we're going to look at the finite infinity, you being an individual packet of the universal pristine. We're going to look at that in segment 3, and how that ties in with how you use your mind, and also the spring, the bubbling spring of synchronicity when we decide to have the eyes to see it. And segment number 4, one of my favorites, I'm calling this Car Seats, Water Wings, and Training Wheels, or Timed Released Brilliance. How most of the times that we're overwhelmed, because we've refused to grow up. We've refused to release our inner brilliance. And we'll look at that at segment 4. All right, let's hop to it. We're going to go with segment number 1. You are in charge of what you think. John Kabat-Zinn, who's done a great job, a philosopher, Buddhist monk, teaching people meditation, helping the people work with all different types of things. He's got a great quote that I wanted to share with you, and it says, it's not really about sitting in the full lotus like pretending you're a statue in a British museum. I love this guy. We're talking about meditation, talking about mindfulness. He says it's not really about sitting there in the full lotus. I'll paraphrase a little. Busting your knees, cracking your back, having your fingers come together like you're trying to pick up a penny off a wet bathroom sink. Pretending like you're a statue at a British museum. Okay, he says, it's about living your life as if it really mattered. Moment by moment by moment by moment. I love that. As if your life really mattered. Right? You don't want to be distracted. You want to turn your back on who you are. But as if your life really mattered, which it does. And then you pay attention to it moment by moment by moment by moment. Now, or Marcus Aurelius, famous Roman philosopher, for those of you that may not know who he is. When he decides how he is going to use his mind, here's what he offers. He says, we seek retreats for ourselves. Houses in the country, at the seashore. Isn't this wild? It went on all those years ago, still going on today. We seek retreats for ourselves. Houses in the country, the seashore, the mountains, on the beach. And we tend to desire things very much. We want to get away. Like the big Southwest Airlines commercial. Want to get away? But this is a characteristic, quote, this is a characteristic of the most common sort of human. For it is in your power, whenever you will, you can choose to retreat, not to the shore, but to your soul. You can choose to retreat into yourself. For nowhere is there more quiet or more freedom from trouble than when you retreat into your own soul. I think we mentioned a little bit earlier, Rumi's the root of your soul. When you retreat there, no place, according to the emperor, Marcus Aurelius, no place more quiet or free from troubles. Particularly when they have within them such thoughts that by looking into them, they are immediately, perfectly tranquil. And I affirm that tranquility is nothing more, and here's the payoff sentence, I think, nothing more than the proper ordering of your mind. Proper ordering of your mind. Or John Kabat-Zinn would say, living your life as if it really mattered, moment by moment by moment by moment by moment. That's the proper ordering of your mind if we tie those two together. And at the base of that, that's Whitman's perfect uncontamination. A mind not bogged down, not all packed full of preconceived notions. Or the poet Thomas Traherne, he talks about disentangled, a disengaged, a naked soul. So a naked soul. Prior to all the mashugana, prior to all the interlopers, prior to all the flies in the ointment. But that magical, that mystical, the mystery of a perfect, uncontaminated mind. And that's why I'm always talking about all-natural being, and why the best strategy, well, it's the best strategy. You remember from the Bible, it says, blessed are the poor in spirit. Well, one way to look at the blessed are the poor in spirit, they've got no skin in the game. In this moment, they work to have their mind perfectly uncontaminated. They want Traherne's disentangled, disengaged. They want the naked soul. They want to get to the root of their own soul. That's the all-natural being. And when we're poor in spirit, blessed are the poor in spirit, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs, right? Yes? Blessed are the poor in spirit. You and I, we come into the moment, we go, whatever you got, we're in. Well, that's the kingdom of heaven. And what we're talking about, if you don't want to look at it spiritually, if you don't want to look at it in a sacred way, you want to look at it a secular way, I'm cool with that as well. What we're talking about then is the tactical, the clinical perfection, the cognitive perfection of dealing with the moment at hand, this moment, right now, this instant, this sliver, in all of time. So what is the perfect uncontamination? What is the clinical perfection, the tactical advantage of using your mind, the proper ordering of your mind, to quote Aurelius again? Well, we talk all the time. Engage the suck. Engage the sublime. But what we don't do is anticipate what's going to come next. Whatever it is, the suck or the sublime, we engage it. No optimism, no pessimism, no positive, no negative. No judgmental, pre-cognitive review of the thoughts and circumstances before they arrive. We want to come into the moment, and maybe that's the definition of heaven here on earth. Another biblical quote, kingdom of heaven is spread upon the face of the earth. The kingdom of heaven is here. Don't look for it in the ocean. Don't look in the skies. Don't look where the fish are. Don't look where the birds are. It's already here. So what could it be? What if it's coming in, clear-headed, and real? Open, not blocked by an opinion of what we want. Oh, we hope it's a happy thought. Oh, I'm counting on a happy thought. No. No optimism, no pessimism. We're going to engage it, whether it sucks or it's the definition of the sublime. We're going to take it. That way, we can be receptive. We can engage it. We don't have to be reactive. And we're only reactive if we have a preconceived notion as to what we want this moment to be. But that's not the poor in spirit. That means when the moment comes, you've got skin in the game. Oh, this moment, I have to have this.
This is leading me towards one of my other goals. It's on my bucket list, Brian.
When we come in clear-headed and real into this moment, the only moment we have, when we don't have a preconceived notion about the truly unimaginable power of living in the present moment, we come in open, not blocked. We come in receptive, not reactive. We don't have a bias. We can be perfectly objective. Whatever happens, it's not going to overwhelm us. We've got no skin in the game. Whatever the moment brings, it brings, and we'll deal with it then. Perilous or profound, it isn't going to matter. We'll handle it in the moment, when it arrives. So it comes down, in the moment, to an intrinsic appeal of what's going on right now. Or, flip side of the coin, an absolute intrinsic appeal on one side, flip side, an insane attempt to mold an unmoldable future. Every moment, unmoldable. Because we can't mold what the future's going to be. So you hear all the time in the military, situational awareness. Check your six. Well, if your mind's packed full of baggage, if your mind's packed full of, oh, I hope it's something good. I've been waiting for this. Situational awareness, you allowed to leave the door open. So no matter what happens, you're ready to go. But you can't deal with the moment either creatively or analytically, right? Can't deal with that if you have a preconceived notion as to how it's going to go down. Right? We have a preconceived notion. So that's when the moment comes in and begins to overwhelm us if it's different than what we wanted. We're still still treating God like an ATM, still treating the universe like a giant short-order cook.
Yeah, give me some hash browns, a couple things of sausage, and some scrambled eggs. Whole wheat toast, dry, unless you got rye toast.
Right? So we just come in. Come into the moment. Come in hot. Light it up. No preconceived notion. You bring your sense, right? Again, you bring your sense of adventure to this particular moment. Uncontaminated, disentangled, disengaged. Just your naked soul and the moment at hand. That's what it means to be poor in spirit. We're not trying to hedge our bet. We're saying, thy will be done, and whatever happens, we're in. We're taking it. Bring some more. I'll take another helping. And again, that's the tactical perfection of dealing with the moment, because it's the only moment you have. So suck or sublime, whatever comes, I'm in. Optimism or pessimism, whatever comes, I'm in. Doesn't matter. It's a non-judgmental attitude of just being ready. And I think of it, it's almost like if you return a kick or a punt in football. You grab the ball, you start downfield. Well, the best at what they do, wait for blockers, for tacklers. They wait for whatever the moment has, whatever the moment offers them, whatever the obstacle is in that moment. Do they have a tending? Yes, I imagine. They'd like to get downfield without getting their head taken off. If they didn't have that, there wouldn't be a need for a fair catch. Oh, yeah, I'm good. Bam! There'd be no need for a fair catch. So I'm assuming they have a tending. They want to get downfield without getting killed. But they can't plan it out any further than that. They wait down to the second to pivot or swerve, go left or right, duck low or jump over a would-be tackler, maybe your own blocker. That's what it means to have a tactical, clinical perfection for dealing with the moment at hand. Whatever unfolds, we're going to nail. All right, we'll be right back. right after this quick break. Oh, and I also want to thank, I've got another text coming in. We should probably mention 331-684-7685. Hit me up on allnaturalbeing.com. We can trade some emails over there. And as always, on facebook.com/Brian Brawdy Official. We'll be right back.
IPMNation.com.
All right, we're just getting something that says from a friend of mine here on Facebook. You make every moment as a heaven on earth. Then when you die, you just wake up in this moment. I kind of dig that. Every moment, because it's the moment we have. It's the key. It's the gateway. So why wouldn't we do it that way? Why wouldn't we look at every moment as an opportunity to bring our own bold? Every moment. We talked earlier about sharpening our eyes. So let's go ahead and jump into segment 2. I don't want to get too far out of bounds today, speaking of out of bounds. We look at the term synchronicity. And at first, when I was writing this segment this morning, I thought, okay, great, let's throw in a bunch of quotes about synchronicity. But I'm going to do that quickly. But then I want to share with you just one of the literally thousands of chance occurrences, synchronicities, serendip, eurekas, epiphanies. Just shake your head and laugh at yourself going, how the hell did that just happen like that? All those occurrences that have happened in my life. And I promise you, I tell you, especially since I started working on my mental acuity. Right? I know it's the detective in me, and that's fair to critique me and go, well, he's an ex-cop. Of course he's always looking for evidence. Of course he's always looking for clues. And now, doing it this way, sharpening my eyes, Jung's quote, synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see. So as a detective, I just kept my sharp eyes, I hope. Albert Einstein said that intellect has little to do on the road to discovery. There comes a leap in consciousness. Call it intuition or what you will. The solution comes to you, and you don't know how or why. Albert Einstein, not little old Brian. Well, maybe big old Brian. Not my opinion. Albert Einstein, pretty sharp dude. Let me read it again. The intellect has little to do on the road to discovery. There comes a leap in consciousness. It says, call it intuition or what you will. The solution comes to you, and you don't know how or why. Synchronicity. Fingerprints of providence. When you sharpen your eye, when you live in the labyrinth gratefully, those things. You don't know how or why, but they present themselves. Or the poet, Friedrich Schiller. There is no such thing as chance. And what seems to us a merest accident springs from the deepest source of destiny. I love that term. The deepest source of destiny. So the fingerprints of providence, if you're a Schiller fan, which I am, if you dig his poetry, the deepest source of destiny, when you work towards it, it worked toward you. Throw yourself gratefully, wholeheartedly, W-H, right? Wholeheartedly. Not wholeheartedly, H-O-L-E. There's a huge difference, wholeheartedly and wholeheartedly. Throw yourself in, W-H-O-L-E, wholeheartedly, into the labyrinth. What bubbles up? If you got the eyes to see, you don't know how or why, but what bubbles up? The deepest source of destiny, of your destiny. That's what you get in the labyrinth. So I wanted to share one of these stories because I used to go, the hair used to stand on the back of my neck. I used to get goosebumps. And now, I have to tell you, I just smile. Sometimes I have to shake my head. Sometimes I even chuckle. And I'm taken by an overwhelming sense of just gratitude that things in this moment unfolded the way they did. So, as you might guess, I've been working on this a little while, the concept of all natural being. It's my own philosophy, my own psychology, right? If you will. That's what you want to call it. Although I'm not a shrink, I'm not a proctologist, I'm not a podiatrist, I'm not a licensed clinical social worker, I'm not any of those things, right? Just me. I say all the time, what am I? I'm a big fan of yours. So BFOY. BFOY. That's what I am. That's an acronym. I should have cards printed up. BFOY. What's BFOY stands for? Big fan of you. But I've been working on this for a while now. Reading, studying, trying to sharpen my eye. Using the synchronicities to say, hey, look, I want to be the Petri dish. I want to be the crash test dummy. I don't want people listening to All Natural Being and go, sounds like a great idea, but how does Brian know? Well, because I've been the crash test dummy. It's taken me a few years to iron some of these things out, but I do it because I want to make sure that what I'm saying is the truth. So not too long ago, I was coming back from Denver, and the traffic was just kind of bad. To be honest with you, it's me. I always wait till the last minute to go to the airport because I just hate sitting around. There's always something else I'd rather be doing than subjecting myself to a pat down with TSA and, waiting 2.5 hours in line. So don't get me wrong. I don't always dislike it. It's fascinating to me to watch the people, to watch the way they interact, practice my little bit of the best acronym, my own little bit of mindfulness in the crowd. But chances are pretty good I'd rather be somewhere else than waiting to be scanned. So in fairness, it was probably more my fault than traffic's fault, but I missed my flight. So they had to book me on a later flight. Now, this later flight wasn't going out of the same terminal, wasn't going out of the same gate. So if you've ever been to DIA, you got quite a hike sometimes when they change these flights. So I went all the way down, probably grabbed something to drink on the way. Grabbed a juice or water or something. Finally got to the gate that I was going, and it was packed. So maybe it really was the traffic. It wasn't just me that caused myself to miss the flight. There's a lot of people. Maybe a lot of them got rebooked. So when I get up to the gate, there's a line of people, 2 lines of people. So I get into the line to the right. There's a line to the left. And you're waiting there. You're just kind of hanging out. You make eye contact. You say hello to whoever you might see, whoever you might bump into. Older gentleman. Later I would learn his name is Jeb, but an older gentleman is in the line next to me, and I said, how you doing, sir? Good, how are you? Great, did you miss your flight? Just trying to, being friendly while you're waiting to get up and speak to the flight attendant, the gate agent, whatever they're called. So we probably make a comment about this or that, and we're just kind of chatting, and then it's both of our times to get up to the counter. I don't think anything much about it. He starts his stuff, I start my stuff. Then we walk away, and in all the gate, there's literally like 2 seats open. And I noticed Jeb is heading towards one, so I go, great. I'll go ahead. I'll hit the other one next to him. So we sit down. I don't think much more about it. I don't want to be one of those guys that talks someone's ear off. I got a radio show for that. I don't have to be one of those guys, on an airplane where you sit next to them. You got your headphones on. You got your sunglasses on. You're doing everything you can. Your hands are in your pockets. You got a big floppy hat on, and someone taps you on the shoulder and goes, hey, so where you headed? Right? I don't want to be one of those guys. But I look over, and he pulls out a book out of his briefcase. And he starts flipping through the pages. And I noticed that on 2 pages facing each other, right? So if you set a book and it opens up on the left and the right, I glanced over, and those pages have pictures of a human brain scan. And I said, excuse me, can I ask what you're reading? What are you learning? Now, to make a very long and, to me, personally exciting story, to make it short so I can get to some of these other segments this morning, Jeb, the guy I've been standing next to, the guy that was redirected, I was redirected, missed a flight. So 100 different things had to unfold in order for me to miss the flight, in order for me to get rebooked, in order for me to get to that other gate just in time to be standing next to this guy in line. 100 things had to happen that particular day just for that to happen. Ready for this? Jeb's a neuroscientist. What's he study? What's his specialty? The capability of the human brain to rewire itself after an injury. And I shook my head. I said, you got to be kidding me. He was like, why is that funny? I said, no. Part of the reason that I missed my earlier flight is I stayed up most of the night. I've been writing about the same thing. I've been working out in my mind the same thing of neuroplasticity and how a brain, and therefore the mind, can work to heal itself. And I'm thinking, how wild is this? So I pull out a notebook, I got a pen, and Jeb and I are off to the races. Right? What's the chance I get to sit next to a neuroscientist talking or studying about the same thing I had written the night before? That's the synchronicity. That's the chance occurrence that happens when you throw yourself wholeheartedly into the labyrinth. So we hung out a little while, discussed the concept, discussed all natural being, the power of your personal instinct, the power of human potential. And I learned a ton from Jeb. And then, unfortunately, we had about an hour there, and it was time to get on the plane, and we had different seats. If I remember, he was in first class, and I was stuck in the very last seat on United, all the way in the back, in the middle, up against the washroom.
Well, you shouldn't have missed your flight, Mr. Brawdy. We had to give away your seat.
But the only thing they could have done was deputize me to be a flight attendant, and I could have passed out coffee from back in that end of the plane. But in any event, took all kinds of great notes. And I will say that the time that Jeb graciously gave me absolutely helped to re-solidify in my mind the concept not only of the brain's ability to heal itself, but in synchronicity. In those chance occurrences that when you leave yourself open in the labyrinth, and I know you have some. That's just mine. What are some of yours? I can tell you that if you take out your journal, your logbook, your evidence blotter, grab a quick pen or a pencil, crayon, magic marker, whatever you're using, if you start writing some of these down, I started this segment by saying that Jung had said, for those that have eyes to see, if you start writing some of these chance occurrences down, before too long, it'll be hard for you to put the pencil down. You'll be going, oh, and then there was this one, and then there was this one, and then there was this, and this, and this, and this, and this. Well, what if the poet Schiller is right? What if those merest accidents really do spring from the deep source, the deepest source of your destiny? And you look back and go, it has been a giant jigsaw puzzle. So as you write your autobiography, we say every day, every chance is a second chance to create your autobiography, to create your piece of art. So maybe some of those chance occurrences weren't as profound as some of the others. Maybe some of those chance occurrences didn't quite grab you. But you never know until you take out your journal, your pen, write them down. And I promise you, they'll start to crystallize in such a way where you say, oh, here's how I got across the river. I used this stepping stone, and then this stepping stone, and then this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and that's how I got here. And the beauty of honing your eye to be able to see them, how they've unfolded in the past, is it gives you that detective mindset, right? We talk crime scene investigation. Dun, dun, dun. Talk in a deep voice, full of drama. Did you get any fingerprints? Can we find out who the bad guy is? Bad girl. Don't want to be sexist. Bad girl, bad guy. Dun, dun, dun. And then they cut to a commercial. All right, be a detective. What are the fingerprints of providence? My definition of synchronicity. Because all I really did, to be honest, let me out myself, I took Schiller's idea of the deepest source of your destiny and Jung's idea of having eyes to see it. That's a fingerprint to me. That's how I'm supposed to move forward in this investigation. That's how I'm supposed to move forward in the labyrinth. That's Ariadne's thread for you. Those fingerprints of providence. Write them down. And then, 20-minute victory. All I'm asking for today. 20 minutes. And it's the weekend coming up. 20 minutes. What if you were that detective? What if you were that criminal investigator? And you said, great, I'm going to figure this out. I got my magnifying glass. Metaphorically, right? I got my magnifying glass. I got my fingerprint powder. I'm going to figure out what this moment is telling me right now. What the synchronicity is. Sometimes when they pop up, to be honest, you just, it's like a baseball bat to the face, and you go, how did I miss that? To really be honest, that's how the whole concept of you can't spell Brian without the I in idiot was born. Because I'm like, how did I miss that? Right? How did I miss it? Because I had a contaminated mind, I'll bet. I was not, Traherns, I was not disentangled or disengaged. I was engaged and entangled. Didn't have a naked soul. I had an ego covered in blind spots, covered in apathy, covered in amnesia. Oh, busy rolling my eyes, puffing. Oh. Right? I didn't see it. So you want to be a cool detective. You want to be an investigator. Figure out what it is that the universe is trying to show you, what your destiny is trying to show you right now. And you find them when you tap into the truly unimaginable power of living in this moment. Don't let someone sell you a carrot at the end of a stick. This moment. This moment. I keep quoting George Thorogood. He's one of my, I just love that guy. Or his music, I should say. With no particular place to go. Because when we have no particular place to go, we have every opportunity to be. Every opportunity to be. And that's when I think life bubbles up and gives you these fingerprints of providence, these synchronicities. One giant jigsaw puzzle. And that's the mystery. That's the magic. But that's the thrill of life.
Oh, I don't know where I'm going to be 10 years from now.
Who cares? I'd like to know where you're going to be 10 seconds from now. All right, you know what? Let's just do this. 13 seconds sounds good, and I'll take a sip of something. Hold on.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. How much longer will you let them hijack your head and your heart?
How much longer, right? You leave the cockpit door open. Somebody comes in, hijacks the plane. It's on you. So we talk in this segment. I love the term. Emily Dickinson's term. She's got some great ones. The brain is wider than the sky. That's got to be my favorite. The brain is wider than the sky. But I dig her term, finite infinity. Because to me, the first time I read that years ago, it spoke to me of you being a subset, a satellite office, an individual packet of the universal pristine. A finite infinity. And why do I think it's so important to reconnect with the concept of you and your pristine? Because you and your pristine, to throw a little more roomy in, again, is the root of the root of the root of the root of your soul. And I think the synchronicities bubble up because we're still connected to that universal library, the pristine, the knowledge that permeates the universe. At the very least, the passion, the soul, the pristine that permeates the universe. So when we remember that we are, in fact, a finite infinity, we are an affiliate for the divine, however you define it. Because when I started down this path of all natural being, and I think maybe on Monday I'll tell you about the latest, but nonetheless a pretty profound experience that happened to me in a church in Mexico. Well, maybe we'll do that on Monday, about the Aleph and the like. But for right now, know that when you reconnect, when you recognize the sense of being an individual packet of the universal pristine, I think that knowledge, I think those synchronicities, I think those things happen if you have the eyes, if you have the ears, if you have the nose, if you have all the senses ready to go. And you can't have those senses ready to go if you bring to the moment a prejudice. It's got to be good. I want it to be happy. It's got to be great. And when we bring in all the baggage, there's no room left on the cart. Say to the bellman, I got 37 bags of luggage. The cart only holds 20. Then I guess you're schlepping 17 bags of your own there, Skippy. Right? So let's not bring that baggage to the bellman. Let's not bring that baggage to the moment. And that's how we sharpen our senses. That's how we become a true detective. Because life is a thrilling gig when we remember the majesty, the magic, the true magic that's going on right now. When you're able to identify those synchronicities, those epiphanies, those chance occurrences, those just shake your head, chuckle, smile, and say thank you moments where you just are like blown away by the synchronicity of it all. And I think it happens because we in fact are a finite infinity. We're connected. Heaven or the Higgs field, science or religion. Doesn't matter. When I set out to do this, I wanted to make sure, I wanted to find a philosophy and a psychology, if you will, that worked for atheists and spiritualists alike. I wanted to find something that would work regardless of your definition of the divine. Big bang, big breath. I wanted to find something that would work all over the world, regardless of religion, regardless of your secular beliefs, regardless of all of it. I wanted to get back to all natural being. I wanted to get back to that portion where I was able confidently to say, blessed are the poor in spirit. It doesn't mean we're apathetic. It doesn't mean we're listless. It doesn't mean any of that. Poor in spirit means we come into the moment with no skin in the game. We're ready to embrace whatever the moment has to offer. We're ready. We don't taint the water in the pool with optimism or pessimism. That's tactical, clinical, cognitive perfection in dealing with the moment at hand. All right, so what are we doing here? Wow, we're going to jump on. Oh, let's do this. We'll do a quick little thing here. And we'll be right back.
No self-help industry tactics here. You're listening to The Real Deal, Brian Brawdy, with All Natural Being on IPM Nation.
We're back. No self-help industry tactics here, right? We don't need motivation. We don't need inspiration. When we get back to the root of the root of the root of the soul, when we get back to what Rumi recognized, we don't need motivation. It's already in there. Batteries included. Already in. Which takes us to segment 4. How do we get to the state that we're in? And if you've been following along in the show, you've heard me say before that we come with water wings. We come with training wheels. We come with, at a very early age, those things that allow us equilibrium, our own balance. We need some help. So our caretakers supply and we adopt external tools to allow us to do so. You're a little kid, you need a car seat. Well, at least in this day and age. Boy, when I was little, I don't think we used car seats. But in this day and age, in order to be safe, you need car seats. Well, what happens when we outgrow a car seat Can you imagine me at my age driving down the road in a car seat, all strapped in? Probably look like an astronaut on a space shuttle. No. We get to the point where we grow up enough that we can handle it on our own. We can go swimming without floaties. We can ride our bike without two small little wheels on the back to help keep our balance. And that's why I called it in the open a time-released brilliance. Because there comes a time where we have to surrender those training aids of our youth. But here's the thing, the ego doesn't want to give them up. Because the ego is one of those training aids. Ego doesn't want to give it up. So here you are, a soul, ready to come into the game, ready to get off the sideline. And the ego's like,
no, we need to tape those ankles a little more.
we're still in our car seats, water wings, training wheels. But the supreme, what do we want to call it? The supreme awakening comes. The day comes when we can no longer be overwhelmed, when we stop undervaluing who we truly are. We'll do just great in life without our car seats. We'll do just great in life without exterior, inauthentic, styrofoam peanuts, plastic fruit to help us with our balance, our equilibrium, our homeostasis. We'll do just great. And then, that time-released brilliance, your soul's ready to go. Thank you for everything. Appreciate you watching out for me. Know I needed a bodyguard when I was little. Fantastic. Dig it. Thanks for all the effort. Couldn't have been easy dealing with me growing up. Always want to be thankful. But I'm ready to go now. Time released. And one would think I could probably have worked in something that, about like butterflies and the chrysalis and the cocoon. The caterpillar, what would a caterpillar be if it hung out in the cocoon its whole life? What would you and I be if we hung out in the car seats of our youth our whole life? What would we be? Pretty soon you'd go, oh, come on. Time to hit the open road, brother. Come on, sister. What are we waiting on? We have a timed released brilliance. Get to a certain stage. Dante talks about it. Dark night of the soul. Get to a certain stage. We got to grow up. We got to mature. Maybe that's the definition of born again for some of us, right? Yes, we're born again. Just like the butterfly is born again, loses the facade, loses the scaffolding, loses those things that it needed to get it to this stage in the labyrinth, loses its water wings and training wheels, its car seats. But then it comes to a point where I go, nope, I'm ready to go. I'm not going to be overwhelmed anymore. I'm going to realize that the only part of me that can be offended is my ego. The only part of me that can be maligned is my ego. Only part of me that can ever be injured in any way is my ego. My all-natural being, untouchable, unstoppable. Nothing to cultivate. It's already in there. I saw an ad the other day for soul training. Your soul doesn't need to be trained. Your soul is great the way it is. Your consciousness wants a higher consciousness. No, your soul is great with the consciousness it has. It would simply like us to grow up and get rid of the training wheels once and for all. But I guess you can't sell a course if you just say, I'll teach you the top 10 things you need to know to grow up. Yeah. Operators standing by. Call before midnight tonight. Right? No one's gonna run in. But since it's just you and me hanging out, since we're talking about being real, we know that the fingerprints of provenance are there to help us with our time-released brilliance. We know that everything just seems to fall together exactly the way it needs to. Forget the philosophical mistake of thinking, oh, I've got a plan. I've got a plot for the future. What if, just for today, it's Friday. What if just for today, you take 20 minutes and go, nope, I'm going to be a detective. I'm going to be a super sleuth. And I'm going to figure out exactly what the divine, however you define it, exactly what the divine is suggesting for me in this sliver in all of time. I think you're going to be blown away. I think you're going to be stunned. Because when you start to tunnel towards your all-natural being, your all-natural being starts to tunnel towards you. And that's enlightenment. Remembering who you ultimately are. No more hocus pocus other than that. No more Pollyanna. No more lotus position. No more nothing. No more bunk. When you remember who you ultimately are, that you're a packet, an individual packet, thumb-sized packet of the universal pristine, that you are untouchable, that only your ego is offendable. You can only malign your ego.
Always said some very nasty things. Oh, she was just so mean to me.
Only your ego takes offense. The real you. The all-natural being that is your core, that is at the root of the root of the root of your soul. Untouchable. And when we do the best acronym, I'm trying to pull this full on together. When we do the best acronym, we talked earlier about treating your life as if it really mattered, because it absolutely does. And you go moment by moment by moment by moment. That's the proper ordering of the mind that Marcus Aurelius was talking about. When we do that in this moment, we reconnect with that very energy of the universe. That energy, that spark that sits in you is the same spark that sparked the universe. It has to be. You're a great, 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 great grandchild of the divine, however you define it. So in this moment, how do we do it? In this moment, we do it by remembering who we are. Breathe in, exhale, scan the horizon, take action. That's the perfect uncontamination. Getting back to the naked soul. I think Emerson called it the whole soul. Or the soul of the whole, maybe. But you're a little sliver of that universal soul. So anytime you get back to that universal sliver, you're getting back to the very power that runs the universe. No unhappiness, no sadness, none of these other things. You get back to the very energy that sparked it all and that sparked you. And then you're outside the fray. Regardless of the chaos, you are your own port in the storm. But remember, like we said, got to throw yourself in the labyrinth. Gratefully throw yourself in the labyrinth. Because if you're a boat, you're always hanging out at the port. Never want to go out into the storm. If you're that kind of boat, you got yourself a dock. All right, my friends. Have a fantastic weekend. Please remember, allnaturalbeing.com. Send me an email. I'll send you one back. We'll hook up that way. You can also tweet me, join me over at Facebook. Give me some ideas of what you would like to hear on future shows. Next week's a big week. I keep talking about it, and I'm working we're going to have a video aspect. We're going to have some daily things that throughout the day they're going to happen on All Natural Being. So I'm working hard to learn some of those technologies this weekend. Going to go ahead and get out of here. Remember, this weekend, you deserve 20 minutes, 1/72nd of your day to be that detective, to put your ear to the rail, right? To grab that magnifying glass, to look down and go, what is the divine trying to tell me right now? Right now. No carrot on the end of the stick. No more mashugana, no more goal setting, no more nothing. Right now, in this moment, what is God trying to tell me? However you define the divine, What is he, she, or it trying to tell me right now? And you, my friends, are going to have a freaking riot. Have a fantastic weekend. Look forward to hanging out with you again on Monday. Now, if I could figure out how to get the cursor over. Oh, here we go. That's the close. I'm going to be like 37 seconds over.
You've been listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy.
Join us live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern.
Also, check us out around the clock at allnaturalbeing.com.
Until then, always remember to bring your own bold.
Bring your own bold and have a fantastic weekend.
IPMNation.com.